This is how I found out my husband is seeing an underage girl. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's gonna be on Instagram. I'm a 25-year-old woman. When I first met my husband, I was 16 years old. I now realize how much he groomed me. I was 16, I decided to sign up for my local gym. As soon as I walked in, my husband saw me and tried to get me to sign up. He was one of the personal trainers at the gym. Now, here's the thing. I was a 16-year-old girl. Not a lot of boys had paid attention to me up until that point. I was overweight in high school and I got constantly made fun of. I even had a bully that called me tubby in front of the entire class. As you can imagine, when I signed up for the gym, I was determined to lose weight. So when I met him at the gym that day, I instantly started liking him. He was extremely handsome. He had a chiseled face and was in incredibly good shape, as you can imagine. And he was really sweet to me. When we first met, he was 22 years old. He became my personal trainer, and after a few weeks of training, he started calling me sweet names. He would say things like, "You're so beautiful, making such great progress, I'm so proud of you." And eventually he started calling me princess. And it worked because I was falling in love. Part 2 is up. This is how I found out my husband was dating an underage girl. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's gonna be on Instagram. At the time I didn't realize it, but he was grooming me. I was 16 and he was 22. The more weight I began to lose, the more affectionate he would become. Mind you, he's my trainer. Trusted everything he was doing. Like I said in part 1, I was already falling in love with him. By the time I had lost 30 pounds, I was completely head over heels for him. And at this point, he started buying me flowers and chocolates. He would find reasons to give me a gift all the time. When he asked me out to go to dinner, he said that he wanted to congratulate me for the hard work that I'd been doing. Of course, I didn't go home and tell my parents that my personal trainer had invited me to dinner. Went to dinner with him, and after that, we were together every single day. He asked me to be his girlfriend and I said yes. We quickly began to do everything a boyfriend and girlfriend do. When I turned 18, we decided to tell my parents about the relationship. My parents were furious. They only knew him as my personal trainer. My dad instantly forbade the relationship, but we still ended up getting married when I was 19. That's when my personal hell began. I started catching him cheating all the time. It's like he almost didn't care that I would find out. He was always texting other girls. None of them were underage. And he always promised that he would do better, so I stayed with him. Until I found out he liked children. Part 3 is I had caught him cheating 5 times at this point. I know what you're telling yourself, how stupid could I be to stay with a man like that? But I was just so attracted and so in love with him, I couldn't leave him. But then the worst thing happened. I decided to put him to the test. I told him I was going out of town to visit a friend and he believed me. But do you think I really did? No. I got a hotel room. Later that night, I went back to my house. Looked through the window and I see my husband sitting on our couch with what I thought was a woman. I unlocked the door and burst in furious. The woman turns back to look at me. And that's when I see a child. A 12-year-old child. I honestly didn't automatically assume anything wrong. I ask him, "What is this little girl doing here?" That's when the little girl looks at me and tells me he's my boyfriend. My knees began to tremble. At this point, all the memories of him and I meeting come back to me. I began to realize how he groomed me and that this little girl was there for you know what. I didn't even hesitate. Took the little girl up to my bedroom and locked the door. Called the police and they arrived fast. On his phone, they had found 14 different conversations with underage girls. One of them being my own cousin. Did I make a story time about that? Anyway, he's in jail now.
My best friend slept with my boyfriend, and I'm gonna tell you how I found out and all of the details. My best friend, or ex-best friend, let's call her Jackie. I was about 18 years old, and I've known her since I was like probably 15. Let me first give you a little backstory. I met her because I was in a very low time in my life and I had just like left home because my mom is like very toxic. That's like a whole other story. Anyhow, she was like there for me. Like she would share her food with me. Like it was a very low time in my life. And I started dating this guy and he had his own business. So basically he like worked from home. And whenever like I wanted to go to the beach, this is in Dominican Republic, by the way. Anytime I wanted to go to the beach, she was like, yeah, invite some friends, whatever. So obviously I would invite her and then my other friend that was also her friend, but she was my friend first. Also, I just want to say this man paid for everything. Like he paid my apartment, he paid for my food, clothes, like literally everything. And obviously she knew about it because she's my best friend. I told her about it. Well, like 6 months into the relationship, he starts like acting very weird. Like he's not answering my phone calls. He's always busy. Like I would see this man every single day. He would sleep over every single day. And then she's also acting weird. Like again, she was someone that I saw every single day. And I think I went like a whole week without talking to her. Anyways, there was this one day that I was like in really, really bad pain. Like so bad. I was in the hospital for about 3 days and he like never once texted me. My other friend that I mentioned at the beginning of this whole story time was with me those 3 days. Like she is my ride or die. And she's like very smart and she's like, what if they're both together? And I'm like, no, she would never. Like she was there with me during the really bad time. Here's part 2. Anyways, my other friend was like, what if they're together? And I'm like, no, I was so delusional. Fast forward, I got out of the hospital and I'm just like in bed, just like relaxing and like exhausted of being in the hospital. It's exhausting. And my other friend, not Jackie, let's call her Martha, comes up to me and she's like, dude, you will not believe what I just found out. And I'm like, my heart was in my mouth. She was like, oh my God, I just found out that Jackie was with, let's call him George. Still completely delusional. I was like, oh, really? Like, I thought they were just like, because again, I would take her out with him and I thought they were just like friends. I was still delusional. And she was like, oh no, like someone saw her getting out of his truck. Like, I guess he left her like a corner before her house. So like no one would see, but someone saw her and told Martha. And dude, I was so hurt. Like, I was embarrassed to go out because again, I lived in a small town where everyone literally knows everyone. So in like this situation, it's like, I don't even know who to slap. I don't even know whose fault it is, but I did text him. So I was like, you could have just told me. You didn't have to like ghost me. You could have just told me like, hey, I don't want to be with you or I want to be with someone else, but no. You decided to just completely ghost me and sleep with my best friend. So who do I slap? Do you know what he said? He said, well, if it makes you feel better, you were also cheating on me. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, he's like, yeah, that's what Jackie told me. And that's why I started going out with her. And I'm like, okay, so how did you get her number? And he's like, oh, I asked one of the motorcycle drivers in the corner to get me her number and I paid them 200 pesos. And he had the audacity to say, oh, I'm sorry you were in the hospital for 3 days. I was at a resort with Jackie. Fast forward to about 6 months. He left her for his baby mama because she was 3 months pregnant. He also texted me every single day that he wanted to be with me, but thank God she took him away from me because, honey. But in this situation, whose fault is it? The man or the best friend? Let me know in the comments.
Am I wrong for showing my twin sister's OnlyFans to our parents? I, 18 female, and my identical twin sister, 18 female, have always had a competitive relationship. We've always fought over everything. But our relationship came to a halt a few weeks ago when a mutual guy friend of ours sent me a link to an OnlyFans profile with an attached message that stated, "This you?" Confused, I clicked on the link and was shocked to discover that the profile belonged to my twin sister. The profile picture was very clearly a scantily clad image of her, and the username was my nickname that literally everyone in my life uses. I asked our friend about it, and he told me that he discovered the profile through Twitter and then subscribed to the profile, which included dozens of videos of her doing spicy things to say the least, all of which with her face showing. I was floored and in a fit of rage showed the profile to our parents. I mean, literally anyone who saw that profile that knows us would immediately assume that it's me, considering she's basically going by my name. Our parents forced her to delete the profile and she hasn't spoken to me since, claiming that I not only ruined her main source of income, but also betrayed her trust. However, I think that she betrayed my trust by going by my nickname.